Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. Today we're talking about relationship anxiety, specifically how relationship anxiety impacts those in the LGBTQIA+ community. Relationship anxiety is anxiety that impacts romantic relationships. It does so by manifesting itself in fear, doubt, insecurity about the future of the relationship, even when things are going well. It can sometimes lead to things like self-sabotage, to constant need of reassurance. There's lots of different ways it sort of plays out, but it shows up a lot in relationships, specifically within people in the queer community. There's a lot of really good reasons for that, which we're going to get into later. First, I want to give you 5 signs that relationship anxiety may be showing up in your relationship. Number 1, people pleasing. Those who deal with relationship anxiety find themselves to be intense people pleasers because you think if you make your partner happy, they won't leave. But when you are people pleasing to the point where you disappear and your needs are not being met, that's a different level than I like to make people happy. There is a way to be someone who makes other people happy without sacrificing yourself. Being a chronic people pleaser also doesn't necessarily mean you have relationship anxiety, but when your relationship anxiety manifests itself in this way, you will find yourself really to your own detriment attempting to please your partner. If your partner's happy, they won't possibly leave you, right? If you supply all of their needs, there is no way they would look for someone else. Right? Number 2, worrying more than enjoying. For many people with anxiety, there is a constant worry sort of running through the back of their mind about lots of different things. This is a constant worry about the state or health of your relationship, whether your partner is faithful to you, whether or not your partner cares for you as much as they claim to, whether or not your partner is attracted to you as much as they claim to be, whether or not your partner is, actually queer. For some people, that can become a concern. The constant worrying in this format is in reality the person's attempt to control a situation that feels outside of their control, because someone with relationship anxiety does feel essentially out of control of a lot of aspects of the relationship, maybe all aspects of the relationship. Because if they're constantly going over and over all of the options out there, the brain essentially thinks that anything that comes up, it will be ready for. It's not really how it works, but that's kind of the function of worry in the first place. Part of that says instead of enjoying is that worry takes you out of the ability to enjoy even the simplest times in your relationship. You worry if you're appreciative enough of a gift that your partner gives you, or you worry if you did a good enough job on a meal that maybe you made them, or something else nice that you might have done for them. You worry and take the joy out of everything. And in reality, part of the function of that is that you don't get too comfortable or too happy, because that relationship anxiety kind of tells you don't get used to this, it's probably not gonna last. That's fear talking. That's not necessarily an intuition talking. When it's coming from relationship anxiety, that is fear-based. But it gets sort of jumbled up in there and manifests itself in this way, again, for the brain to sort of get prepped in case this doesn't work out and in case you do find yourself alone. But it steals the joy out of even the littlest happy moments with your partner. Number 3, seeking frequent reassurance. It is common to go through times where you need a little more reassurance than you need at other times. We all have sort of ebbs and flows in that. And in reality, in a solid partnership, there should be able to be times where you can be honest with your partner and say, right now I just need a little more reassurance than other times. And that can be okay. It's the constant need for frequent reassurance that is a sign of relationship anxiety. And that would mean all of the time. When you need frequent reassurance that your partner loves you, that the relationship is one they want to be in, that you're doing a good job in the relationship, that you are an adequate or more than adequate partner for them. When you need to hear that and you're not able to sort of see the context clues around you and see through actions and word that this still remains the same as it did a couple of hours ago or the day before when your partner told you, that's a sign relationship anxiety might be coming up for you. And in reality, if one partner needs this frequent reassurance, it doesn't leave a lot of room for another partner to get the reassurance that they might need at times that they need it, because they're constantly attempting to reassure their partner, right? So it does become a bit unbalanced in that, where not everybody's able to get the things that they need because the partner with the relationship anxiety is kind of taking all of that space. Number 4, looking for problems. When people constantly look for problems, they're going to find them because they make them happen. So for instance, if you're convinced you can't trust your partner and you constantly question them about where they're going and what they're doing and who they're with, and then at some point you catch them not telling you everything, maybe it's because they genuinely forgot, maybe it's because they're tired of answering 1,000 questions about something, whatever it is, but you've caught them in this like situation, you have confirmed for yourself that problem that you assumed was happening all along. Or in a slightly less nefarious kind of way, maybe you, going back to the seeking reassurance, you constantly ask your partner if they're annoyed with you, but you ask it so much that they do get annoyed, and that confirms your assumption that they're annoyed with you because they get annoyed with you because you ask them so many times. The constant looking for problems often creates the problems that you were looking for. It also does not allow you to like relax into your relationship and really show up in your relationship in any real kind of way. It stops you from being fully in because the relationship anxiety has told you that you're probably not going to be in for very long, or they're probably not going to stay, or whatever of 1,000 things that you're assuming due to what's going on in your head. And so you don't fully relax into it. So you're looking for all of the things you should be on the lookout for, which means you're not fully showing up and not fully present and not fully trusting your partner, which is going to lead to some problems. It goes directly into our fifth one, which is doubting the other person's feelings. Now, this one does come really from a fear of abandonment. You test the other person a lot when you have a fear of abandonment because you want to make sure they're going to stay. However, a constant test of someone's willingness to stay can sometimes end up with them not staying. And that really has nothing to do with their intent in the first place, but everybody has the right to not want to live under a constant test. You know, everyone does kind of have that right. And so even somebody who had every intention of giving what they have to a relationship can give what they have and still decide to go because constant testing is not something that brings peace into their life. And so that is not a relationship they decide to continue. Depending on the situation, that might be kind of fair, you know? But that doubting of the other person's feelings, that's connected to the need of reassurance, that's connected to looking for problems, because if you doubt their feelings, then you don't have to fully invest your feelings. And if you don't have to fully invest your feelings, then you can't get fully hurt in the relationship. But the truth of all of this is, if you don't invest in a relationship, you can't get out of the relationship what you want to get out of a relationship because you never showed up. Relationship anxiety at its height becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you go into it assuming that you don't deserve a relationship, or that you don't deserve or can't have someone stay with you because of you and because of who you are. And that becomes true because of the ways that you test and push and stay one foot out the door and don't invest. Because if the other person also has relationship anxiety and they're doing the same thing, well, then that's going to be problematic. And even if the other person doesn't, or has, some relationship baggage that they've sort of worked through, it's not really their job to walk you through yours. That's your work to do. So there's a reason why relationship anxiety is so intensely impactful within the queer community. And really, once I break this down for you, if you haven't already seen it, you're going to see it. Many people within the LGBTQIA+ community have experienced rejection in ways that those in the cishet community have not experienced it. The highest cause of homelessness in teens is being kicked out of their homes because of being found out or coming out to their family. There are so many broken relationships. And then you've got those who grow up in a religious organization and understand who they are and come out to the people who are around them that lose those relationships. So there's a history of broken past relationships, of people leaving them once they tell them who they really are. Like, for no other reason than they just tell them who they really are. These people are out the door. And these are people that you had every reason to assume would still be there no matter what, because they told you they loved you no matter what. And since what you were telling them isn't a bad thing, it's just more truth about you, there was no reason for them to go. But they did. And that gets internalized as there's something wrong with you because this person who was supposed to love you is gone. Add that to the social stigma. You can't turn on the news in the US today without hearing some sort of something negative about the queer community. And you don't have to completely listen to it. You don't have to believe it for you to hear it. And if you hear it enough, it finds its way in somehow. So with social stigma, the fear of people, just bailing on you when you tell them who you are, you carry that with you. Your subconscious, in an effort to protect you, makes you a little bit scared to invest in a relationship. So in that case, relationship anxiety is actually protective and actually trying to keep you, from getting hurt. Now, it doesn't actually work because when it keeps you from investing in a relationship, you get hurt anyway. That's how the cycle happens. But that's why I'm doing this video, so that you can see the cycle and maybe stop the cycle for yourselves and maybe not have to keep getting hurt. Another reason is there's a difficulty in navigating the communication piece in queer relationships because you don't always see that. Like, we don't see it in media. You probably don't see it in your everyday life. When all you see is heteronormative, heterosexist relationships, the communication piece in a queer relationship, it's just different. And as a therapist who works with queer relationships, I don't know that I could even explain to you how it's different. It's just different. The dynamics of a relationship within the umbrella of the queer community are just different. And when you don't have any exposure to that, it is hard to understand that. So not having any reference point for conversations about intimacy, for conversations about pleasure, for conversations about how to communicate, let alone what to communicate about. When you don't have a reference point for that, it makes it really hard to invest emotionally in a relationship because you don't know how to trust. Really, you don't know how to take it down another layer because you haven't seen it or experienced it usually. That piece is also why relationship anxiety runs so rampant within our community, because often you don't realize it's happening in your past relationships and you carry that anxiety to another relationship, play out the same thing, and to another relationship and play out the same thing, and maybe get to a point where you're like, relationships aren't really for me. I don't really want to do this anymore because they don't really work out. And it's understandable if that's how you feel because of where you came from, I guess. But also, sometimes when relationship after relationship doesn't work out, and maybe you don't know that you're carrying this relationship anxiety or your partners are carrying this relationship anxiety, and that's why they're not working out, when they keep on not working out, it can be tempting to be like, well, maybe I'm just not a relationship person, right? And maybe you're not. That's also possible. But if you are, there are ways to build healthy relationships and create healthy attachment and to really heal some of this relationship anxiety. Like, it can be done. The first way is noticing when it happens in your life. I want to be very clear. Just because you are doing one or two of these does not mean you have relationship anxiety. It means that you need to be clued into it to see, is this a pattern in your life? Is it a pattern that has been disruptive to relationships in your life? And is that a pattern that you want to change? If yes, if you say yes to all three of them, then let's change it, right? If you didn't say yes to all three of them, then maybe you don't need to change anything. That's really your call. It's your life. But I also have a feeling if you're watching it this far, you might have a hunch that there might be something you want to change. So if that's of interest to you, go ahead and check out this video right here on attachment styles and see what that means in your life. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and each other.